It's Jen. Welcome back. So today is Sunday and I feel like relaxing, reading a little bit. So I thought it would be a perfect time to try a chapter with you guys. So I went to the library last week and I randomly picked up some books that were just on my radar. The first one it's going to be in this vlog is All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. The Spy Coast by Tessa Gerritsen, I don't know. Homecoming by Kate Morton. I've never read Kate Morton before. I recently heard someone mention this and it piqued my interest. This is Jessie Q. Sutanto. I'm Not Done With You Yet. 14 Days. This is I think this is the one where each chapter is written by a different author. So just the premise alone of that intrigues me. And then Daughter of Mine by Miranda. I typically enjoy her books. There's been a couple that have been 4 or 5 stars, and then there's been a couple of hers that were kind of a miss for me. So that's why I wanted to try this one out before purchasing it for my library. But this is on my radar as well. So I will read a chapter or so about each of these and tell you my thoughts, and then hopefully we'll be able to narrow down 1 or 2 that stand out for me to kind of put on my priority list for next month. Next month is series September, so that's going to be my main focus, but I just wanted to get some thoughts on these books here. So the first one I'm going to do, let's just go from the top, Daughter of Mine. We find a car in the bottom of a lake, and it's called Mirror Lake. It's in North Carolina. We have a beautiful waterfront community where neighbors know neighbors, family businesses are on the norm, and the small town way of life seems to go on year after year uninterrupted. We have a long-serving detective of this community that dies suddenly, and his daughter Hazel returns back home. She's been away for about 10 years, it says. But it says Hazel isn't the only relic of the past to resurface. A drought has descended on the region, and as the water level in the lake drops, long hidden secrets begin to emerge. Soon Hazel finds evidence that may finally explain what happened to her mother, who disappeared when Hazel was a teenager, taking the family savings with her. But unearthing the mysteries of the past sets Hazel on a dangerous search to uncover the truth buried at the heart of her hometown and maybe even her family. So we have a return home, which I always like. Police detective, amateur detective, probably in here as well, and that sounds really good. So I will be back with my thoughts. Okay, so there was a prologue and a chapter 1 that I read. Chapter 1 brought me to page 17. So far so good. So it's starting off, she's just home. They discover this car on the same day as her dad's funeral. Dad is very loved in the community because of his years serving the community as a sheriff. We get quickly introduced to her brothers, her 2 brothers, and also a quick introduction to a childhood friend / possible love interest. Young love maybe through college, I'm not sure. And then you could tell she just wants nothing to do. She wants to get back out of town. But then one of her brothers calls her and says, hey, Hazel, don't leave yet. I'm the executor of the estate. And it says there's something in Dad's will that you should know about. And that's how the chapter ends. So also the chapter starts with, it says 65 days without rain, Wednesday, May 15th, 5:30 p.m., precipitation 0. So you're getting this feeling of drought throughout the book. Each chapter has a different how many days without rain. So I'm curious to know, I don't want to peek, but I wonder what's the time frame for this story? Is it a week, a month, a year? What's going on? Are we going to get flashbacks to her childhood before she left? Most likely. Nothing that blew me away right away, but definitely something I know I want to read. So that was a win. Okay. Remember, I'm just going to pick 1 or 2 that I'm going to read now, but that one is a contender. Okay, next one is 14 Days. This is the one that has all the different authors that wrote it. And each chapter, I think, is a different author. Yeah, it says, with each unfolding story written anonymously by a different major literary figure, from Celeste Ng, Tommy Orange, Diana Gabaldon, John Grisham. That's kind of what it mentions there. This book takes place in March of 2020 as the pandemic is starting to sweep the globe. And it takes place in an isolated apartment complex. So I'll give you my first thoughts. I think this one's going to be a hard one to do a try chapter, honestly, because every chapter is going to read so differently with the different authors. This is something I most likely will read no matter what at some point, but I don't know if it'll be right now or not. I'm trying to see if it like tells you which chapter's written by which author. I don't think it does. That kind of sucks. Like, I want to know who writes what. It doesn't. It just says the chapters are titled Day 1, Day 2, Day 3. There is a list of all the authors in there, which is nice. I probably would not be able to tell you whose writing is who. But oddly enough, Tess Gerritsen, the Spy Coast that I have right here, she's one of the authors, so that's kind of funny. But I'm going to read the first chapter and give you my initial thoughts. This one just intrigues me so much by having all the different authors. So let's see. First chapter is kind of long. First chapter is Day 1 and it's 30 pages. So I'm just going to pause it right here and I'll hop back on with my thoughts rather than having you guys watch me read this. Okay, I read the first chapter. It was very long. The writing was good. Don't know which author it was. I am gonna pass on return this. I'm not ready to read this right now. I just not in the spot where I want to read about the pandemic. Not because I've moved on, everything's fine. It's just, I don't know. It's just not something I'm in the mood for right now, I think, but nothing towards the book or the writing, like still something I want to check out. I just don't think this is going to be one I hold on to read right now. So I'm going to move on to the next one. So that's going to be in the later pile. Next one is I'm Not Done With You Yet. I actually don't even know what this is about, so let me check it out. It's a dark, twisty suspense novel. We have dark female friendships, so that is a huge buzzword for me. It says, Jane's unhappy, a struggling mid-list writer whose novels barely command 4 figures. She's feeling trapped in an underwhelming marriage, just scraping by to pay a crippling Bay Area mortgage for a house, a life she's never really wanted. There's only ever been one person she cared about, one person who truly understood her. Thalia, Jane's best and only friend nearly a decade ago during their creative writing days at Oxford. It was the only good year of Jane's life, cobblestones and books and damp English air, wine and sweet cider, and Thalia, endless Thalia. But then one night ruined everything. The blood-soaked night that should have bound Thalia to Jane forever, but instead made her lose her completely. Thalia disappeared without a trace, and Jane has been unable to find her since. Until now. I'm not going to keep reading. So I already know I'm going to keep this one. I'm still going to do a try chapter, but this sounds really good. I think this is the one I'm most excited about of these 3 so far. The first page says, when did you first realize you're not normal? I love that. All right, so we have part 1. Chapter 1 is only 4 pages. And then 7 for chapter 2. So I may read the first 2 chapters depending on how this goes, because I don't know that 4 pages is quite enough for me to get a vibe. Maybe it will be. So let's see. So chapter 1 takes place 26 years ago. Okay, this is good. This is good. I think we're gonna get kind of a timeline that bounces around like we had. Chapter 1 was was it 10 years, or 26 years ago. Chapter 2 was present day. Chapter 3 is going to be 9 years ago. And that's taking her back to when she was in Oxford, England. So I'm thinking maybe the main character has some I'm thinking maybe the main character, Jane, that maybe she might be a psychopath. I'm not sure. That's my first gut from chapter 1, but I can't really tell that from that. I'm very intrigued in this one, and I love dark female friendships. I love multiple timelines. I like that it's going back from present day to now. And there's writers involved in this too. So I like books about books and books about writers. So this is gonna go in the probably keep pile for now with Daughter of Mine. I will also kind of rank these at the end of like which one I'm most excited about to the least one, just to kind of add a little something there. Next one I'm gonna read is The Spy Coast by Tessa Gerritsen. I don't know how to say this. This one is a spy novel. Once a spy, always a spy. Former spy Maggie Bird comes to the seaside village of Purity, Maine. So we got East Coast in here. The snow vibes make me feel like maybe this should be saved for winter. That's my first gut feeling. But it was there and I wanted to check it out. So it says, so she's coming back. She's a former spy. She's coming back to Maine, and she's eager to put the past behind her after a mission that went tragically wrong. She's living a quiet life on a farm with her chickens, and these events that she went through has kind of forced her into early retirement. But then a body turns up in Maggie's driveway, and she knows it's a message from former foes who haven't forgotten about her. Maggie turns to her local circle of old friends, all retirees from the CIA, to help uncover the truth about who is trying to kill her and why. This martini club of former spies may be retired, but they still have a few useful skills that they're eager to use again, if only to spice up their rather sedate new lives. Complicating their efforts is Purity's acting police chief, Joe. More accustomed to dealing with rowdy tourists than homicide, Joe is puzzled by Maggie's reluctance to share information and by her odd circle of friends, who seem to be a step ahead of her at every turn. It says, Maggie's hunt for answers will force her to revisit a clandestine career that spanned the globe from Bangkok to Istanbul, London to Malta. The ghosts of her past have returned, but with the help of her friends and the reluctant Joe, Maggie might just be able to save the life that she's built. So it looks like we're going to kind of go all over the world in this one, which I'm excited. It's blurbed by David Baldacci, Lee Child, CJ Box, Paul Dorian, so like Luann Rice, so like a lot of big names have really good positive things to say about this book. I want to be a spy when I grow up, so I like books about spies. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so I read the prologue, which was obviously didn't have 2 chapters, but there is like a break in the writing. So the first few pages, the prologue is taking place in Australia in 1959, and the first few pages you're following Isabel, who lives in this house. The weather is very hot, even though it's New Year's Eve. It's hot there in Australia in the winter. For us, it's summer for them. And she thinks she just kind of goes in a little detail about the weather and how hot it is and her life there and her kids and her husband. That part ends up with, she thinks a postman is coming down the road with something, a parcel that she had ordered, and it says, but it is not the postman. And then you follow Percy Summers, same time frame, Christmas Eve, 1959 in South Australia, and he goes up to a house. I don't want to give anything away. It's could be spoilery till the beginning of the book, but he comes across a family who is picnicking outside, and something tragic has happened. So that's where we're at. I don't think I'm ready to read this now. I feel like this is feeling like something I want to pick up I would say late fall into winter, just the vibe of the historical fiction, and I don't know, it's just the vibe I'm getting. I'm just not ready to pick this up right now. It goes after the prologue. It's part one, and that picks up in London 2018 in December. So I wanted to show you guys this though. The top of the pages have a little artwork, and then the different parts have this beautiful page with just a really pretty, whimsical kind of floral illustration, which I like. I appreciate that. I think it's through the book. Yeah, there's chapter 12 has the same little drawing on the top. So that's a nice little part of it too. It's a beautiful book. So I think I'm going to pass for now, but the writing is good. Just how I heard, that's what I heard about Kate Morton, that her writing was really good, and I would agree so far. So this is definitely something I still am interested in. I just don't know that it's going to be right now. And then the last one for this video, for my library haul, this is a little bit backlisted, I believe. This came out a couple years ago, I think. Let's see, maybe 2020. No, just kidding, 2022. So not that too long ago, just 2 years ago. This one, I believe the author is... Yeah, this author, Ashley Flowers, is an award-winning independent media and podcast production company. So her company tells true crime, fiction, comedy, along with others. So she is the top-rated podcast of Crime Junkie, which now I want to check that out. But this is her first novel that she wrote. So we have some praise from Karen Slaughter on the back, which is like a huge selling point for me. So that's kind of cool. She was born and raised in Indiana, which is not too far from me. It says, you can't ever know for sure what happens behind closed doors. So this story takes place in Indiana. We have an infamous case of January Jacobs, who was discovered in a ditch hours after her family found her gone. Margot Davies was 6 at the time, the same age as January, and they were next door neighbors. In the 20 years since, Margot has grown up, moved away, and become a big city journalist, but she's always been haunted by the feeling that it could have been her. And the worst part is, January's killer was never found and brought to justice. Oh, it says January's killer has never been brought to justice, so maybe they did figure out who it was. So Margot returns home to help care for her uncle, who is diagnosed with early onset dementia, and she kind of feels like she walked into a time capsule. So we have another return home in this one, just like the Meg and Miranda one. So when she returns home, everything's just how she remembered it, but news breaks out about a 5-year-old named Natalie Clark from the next town over who's gone missing under eerily similar circumstances to January's. So Margot vows to find Natalie and to solve January's murder once and for all. Seems like the townspeople are hiding something. We have another amateur detective. So, gosh, a lot of similarities between those two. So I'm going to read a chapter of this and make a decision. And I'll be back with my final thoughts and my ranking from what I'm keeping, what I'm most excited about. So here we go. Okay. I'm intrigued. It didn't grab me as much as, like, right off the, beginning as the Jesse Q. Sutanto one. But I'm definitely interested. This is going to be hard to pick, too. All right, let's talk about, well, first of all, you get a lot of just introduction. Looks like her uncle kind of raised her. Her dad is kind of an absentee father, kind of an alcoholic. There's a brother mentioned as well, but we don't get into his backstory or anything very much. The first chapter, Chrissy in 1994. I think is the mom of the girl who went missing, is my guess. It doesn't say that, but we have some disturbing messages on the outside of their house, so some vandalism, and that's in the past timeline. So the writing seems good, and I definitely am getting that true, you can see her, that true crime podcast feel coming out in the writing, which is not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I like true crime podcasts. I need to listen to more podcasts, actually. That's on my mind for like next year, to make it a point to kind of get through some more podcasts that I enjoy. I tend to listen to audiobooks over podcasts when I have the chance, but I do really enjoy podcasts. So anyways, back to the library haul. Okay, let's rank them so I'm kind of on the fence right now. These are the 3 that I'm going to keep, I think. But I want to say, if we're going in order of how interested I was, I would say I was the least interested in this one right now. I think I'm just not in the mood for a pandemic style book, so that's going to go back. So that one I'm the least interested in. I'm kind of tied between these two. They both sound good. I both feel like, for both of these, I feel like I want to wait and pick them up more towards the end of the year. I'm just getting winter vibes in both of these, even though this one started off in the summer in Australia. I think just the Christmas, New Year's Eve timeline is kind of maybe giving me those vibes. And I'm just not ready to take on such a big book right now, just with what is coming up in September for me. But both of these, the writing was good. This one seems like it's going to be a fun time with all the spy and having the older characters. That's going to be pretty entertaining, I think. So those are kind of tied for second to last place. Both of these seem so similar. I mean, obviously this is a mother gone missing. This is a child gone missing. But we both have the return home, amateur detective. I've read Miranda before, have not read her before, but I'm equally intrigued in both of these. So I think for now I'm going to keep both of these and see if I can get to them in September. But I was, both of these kind of sucked me in from the beginning. Maybe this one a little bit more. So just for the sake of this video, I'll put All Good People Here next, and then following that, Daughter of Mine. And then the one that I think I'm most excited about just from this Chaya chapter is this one. I think I'm just in the mood for a dark female messed up premise. So I'm definitely, like I said, I'm going to keep all 3 of these from the library. But this is the one out of all these books that hooked me the most in the first few chapters. So there you have it. Thanks for joining me in this process of elimination. I love Chaya chapters. I love going to the library and utilizing that, because they don't care how many books you read. They care how many books are out in circulation. So don't hesitate to grab more than you think you can swallow at the library, and give them a shot. And at least it gives you that, should this stay on my radar? Is this something, that I'd want to pick up if I saw a good deal as I'm out shopping? Because I am very, if it's on my radar, it sounds good, I want to buy it, and I want to have it, and I want to own it. And I need to do better about that, which is why I like doing these Chaya chapters. So there you have it. Take it. That's my 2 cents. But thanks again for watching. What are you guys reading right now? What is going on with you? I love chatting with you down in the comments, and happy reading. I will see you in my next video. Bye.